where somebody had posted something that once the hotel reopens, it's not going to be unionized, right? I've been trying to clarify this myth because we've been having meetings with our members about, some matters of the union, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I'll bring you down the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
The very cover sheet that deals with the collective bargaining agreement between West End Properties and Fairmont Southampton and the hotel division of the Bermuda Industrial Union.
Yeah.
And it's dated February 28, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Page number 38 lays out the years of the CBA from 2023 to 2033.
That's 10 years.
To 2033.
That's huge.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then on page number 39.
Is that an exception? Because
it is an exception.
You don't usually have a collective bargaining agreement. I mean, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
And I see the signatures is like 8 union members party to the
and I'm going to tell you that now. And then
6 of the GenCom representatives.
Page 39.
Yeah.
It's the signatures to the CBA.
Right.
So just so that, this is not just Chris Roberts saying.
14 signatures in all.
The proof is in front of you. That's the number one page. It's the cover page of the CBA.
Yep, it says collective bargaining agreement between West End Properties Limited. They're also known, of course, as the Fairmont Southampton and the hotel division of the Bermuda Industrial Union.
Yep.
And then they have laid out in a spreadsheet from 2023 until 2033.
Can't read the increases.
I'm not going to read the increases. I'm just going to say the increases include the positions, the creation and leisure side of the operation, beach and pools and kids club, camp, counselor, and it goes down the list. I mean, it's very extensive. Golf gardener, the golf mechanics, the inside golf specialists, the spa, the outside golf specialists, spa attendants, spa experience coordinator, and then the security. They'll have full security here, so security officers are included in this collective bargaining agreement. And then stores and purchasing, the head of stores, as well as the receiving clerk, the storekeeper. It's all covered here, specified in the spreadsheet.
Remember now, I only gave you that sheet, because remember there are at least 2 other pages of all the categories,
Yes.
I gave you last page. It's like
this is just an example.
That's an example.
Yeah.
There's 3 other pages of all the categories that we have.
And I just gave it as an example to demonstrate the not only the importance but the special or the specific categories.
Yes.
How they're actually laid out in the spreadsheet year by year by year by year.
Absolutely.
And of course, as I said, that's quite interesting is that the signature page contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 signatures representing the Bermuda Industrial Union, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 representing West End Properties. That's 9 and 6 is 15 signatures. So I don't think there could be any need for clarification regarding whether there is going to be collective bargaining agreement in place at the improved and newly upgraded Southampton Princess Hotel.
So I'm going to a meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock down at Waterlot.
Okay.
At Waterlot. And remember now, Waterlot's been open now, it'll be 2 years December coming.
Oh, that's right.
Open December.
Yeah.
They open a year December going.
Yeah, I
and all
heard they're doing quite well.
End up been doing extremely well.
Yeah.
And we also have bond organized. So for people to think that, the hotel's going to be reopened and the BIU would somehow allow it not to be unionized, it's just, I don't know how people would think.
Well, we have the naysayers that look for any opportunity and every opportunity to throw water on anything that could look favorable to organizations, whether they be political or labor organizations, when there seems to be cohesiveness going on, whether it is cohesiveness in by way of what the government is delivering, or cohesiveness by way of industrial relations, where the union and its members are sitting down around a table of protocol to discuss what should be considered and improved upon for workers of this country under a collective bargaining agreement.
Absolutely.
Don't need to say anything more than that.
Absolutely.
Did you hear any part of the budget today?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I don't want to say too much right now, Glenn.
Okay.
I actually want to be fair. I actually want to speak to the Premier before I make any comments about the budget.
Okay.
And I think I want to be fair to him because it's his final budget.
Yes.
And I think it'd be totally irresponsible for me to make whatever comments I'm going to make now, whether it can be negative or positive.
Right.
Positive.
Okay.
Before I speak to you.
I respect that.
I want people to understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Because him and I have a good working relationship, and I don't want to be saying things for it or against it without having a conversation with him first.
Got you.
Cool.
Okay.
Appreciate
all right.
that.
Anything else that you?
No,
you're
that's
good
all.
for now?
I just want to say thank you, Glenn.
Oh, you're very welcome, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Drive careful to water a lot in, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
And have a little wine or something on me as well. Yeah. Well, folks, there you have it. The Bermuda Industrial Union President, Chris Ferbert, clarifying what apparently is going around on social media, suggesting that once the Fairmont Princess Hotel has been completed and opens for operation, there won't be a collective bargaining agreement in place because there won't be anyone allowed to be employed there as members of the Bermuda Industrial Union. And I've just seen and shared with you by way of a document that the president of the Bermuda Industrial Union had given me sight of in verification that that rumor or social media, what we would call it, misrepresentation, misinformation, going around is highly exaggerated and just not true. All right, so I as I said, I was rather impressed. I didn't hear the beginning of the budget. So right toward the end, when the Premier and Finance Minister was giving an overview of the highlights of the budget, that's when I heard pretty much from there on to the end. And as I said, I was rather impressed. One of the things that really impressed me was the fact that $605 million in full will be paid toward Bermuda's debt, which will significantly reduce the interest going forward on Bermuda's public debt. I think somewhere between maybe 18 and 20%. If I remember correctly, hearing. But that's huge. So let's just go, and I don't have the full document yet. I believe it's going to be emailed with me. But for the next several weeks, there will be the debate in the House of Assembly. The general debate will begin, I believe, after the reply next Friday in the House of Assembly. And then, following that, there will be the drill down on the specifics of the budget, subsequent to the general debate. And that's when each of the departments, which comes under certain heads, as it is referred to and described as in the Book of Estimates and Revenue and Expenditure, will be discussed. Now, how that debate happens is that the opposition party gets to choose and prioritize what heads they will discuss. So they actually set the agenda for the debate regarding the discussion and the order in which the different heads would be discussed or debated. And that happens, following the general debate. And then I think it's probably a 2.5 week process, depending on the number of heads to be debated. And the House of Assembly will sit, I think, every other day in the week, starting on Mondays, then Wednesdays, and then Fridays, if I'm correct
And if I'm not, I do apologize, but I stand to be corrected. That's to the best of my recollection of how it used to work when I was involved. I don't think much has changed on that process, but if it has, I do apologize for not sharing it correctly. But I don't think it has. In any case, that's the way it will move forward from here on in. So the opposition will have a week or so from today until next Friday to prepare their reply. And then that reply is published in response to the presentation made by the Honorable Premier and Finance Minister to the estimates of revenue and expenditure presentation that was laid before the House today. So the Cabinet Office has been allocated $58 million. That includes the archives, digital transfer of funding, an upgrade on the portal, cybersecurity will be improved upon, workforce development training, investment and public service scholarship program as well. There will be money allocated for that. So I'm not going to be specific where all of the money is going to be allocated. I'm not going to be specific on where all of the money is going to be allocated. Because there are many ministries, of course. I'm not just going to go through the budget allocations, and I may make some reference to what I could recall when I was actually listening to the Premier and his presentation when I did catch it. So, as I said, what really stood out was that offsetting of the budget in the amount of $605 million in full toward the national debt. I mean, that is in and of itself, something to be extremely encouraged by, in my humble opinion. So then we had, so that was the Cabinet Office. And then the Ministry of Finance, $277.3 million, an increase of 4%. The ministry, what was that ministry now? I didn't write down that ministry. Was it the ministry? I don't think it was the Ministry of, let's see, by process of elimination. It might be the Ministry of Education, because I've got my handwritten notes. And that would be $156 million allocated with an increase of 5% over last year's allocated funding for that particular ministry, the Ministry of Education, an increase of over double for post-high school scholarships is one of the highlights where some of that funding would be allocated. So over double the amount of last year's scholarship funds will be made available for students for their tertiary and post-education, post-high school education. And the Ministry of Health, a huge, I think the Ministry of Health may have been allocated the largest budget of $302.5 million, a whopping 23% increase. And in October of 2026, the universal health coverage will ensure that all local residents will have access to health care. That's very impressive. Looking at it at surface level. Now, I don't know the specifics, and I'm not getting into the specifics. I will wait to hear from respective ministers who would like to be interviewed to actually expound upon the funds allocated for them to work with in providing the services under their remit to our community based on the amounts that you are hearing me share with you today, and you would have heard had you been listening in during the live presentation by the Finance Minister this morning from the House of Assembly. The Ministry of Immigration and Labor allocated, I believe, $21.9 million. The Ministry of Public Works allocated $90.9 million, an increase of 8% over last fiscal year. There will be a full upgrade of Tynes Bay Waste Management Facility. And the other thing that caught my attention was the development of the reconstruction, however you want to describe it, of the Admiralty House Ballroom. And the St. David's Lighthouse will enjoy upgrades and improvements. But Admiralty House Ballroom, man, that's huge. I mean, that was a landmark and of great historical relevance for many, many years in the Spanish Point area, sitting above on the hill overlooking the Admiralty House Beach down lower. It's a really beautiful public park facility, Admiralty House. But now with the addition of a ballroom, it means entertainment and cultural events would be able to be facilitated in that proposed new building. So I'm really excited about that as well. And of course, the road surfacing will continue, and other things under the remit of Public Works with respect to infrastructure. So the minister has a significant budget to work with an 8% increase. The Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Culture has been allocated $109.1 million, an increase of 7% year over year. I believe there's going to be like up to about 4,000 access places, or 4,000 places that students could access during various camps and programs designed for our young students. And that's huge. The demand is high. So we should be very, very encouraged by that, particularly parents who have children of school age that need to be enrolled in various summer programs and programs when they are out of school on holidays. There will be 20 new electric buses and an additional 20 as well purchased and imported into the island for a public transportation system. That, again, is very encouraging for our transportation challenges, as well as the need for us to be a little bit more environmentally conscious, and the government responding to that and not going with the combustible gasoline or diesel engines, preferring to make that paradigm shift in the interest of environmental concerns related to direct fossil fuel pollution that comes as a result of the derivative of crude oil that is refined into diesel, into gasoline, and that kind of thing. So I think that's really good, and will certainly be welcomed by environmentalists as a result of this commitment. The Minister of National Security, $137 million. That's a 5% increase. They will continue the good work that has been going on, particularly with the CCTV camera deployment and other infrastructure upgrades. Of course, covering the needs for human resources in the various disciplines under the remit of the Minister of National Security, such as the police, firemen, etc. So that is also another welcome bit of news out of the estimates of revenue and expenditure today. Youth Social Development and Seniors has been allocated $97.2 million to carry on the good work that the minister has been committed to over the last several years, and that equates to a 6.6% increase year over year for the Ministry of Youth, Social Development, and Seniors at $97.2 million. And then we have the Ministry of Home Affairs. I believe a 14% increase there. Is it 60.6 million for that ministry? And then it's the Ministry of Housing and Municipalities, $80.2 million. And there's going to be improvements in various communities, particularly in the Prospect area. And I think the other area maybe in one of the western parishes or eastern parishes or communities. But in any case, why the central parish is dear to my heart is because it involves the constituency that I formerly represented, Cedar Park and Mary Victoria Road, and those neighborhoods will get incredible improvements to some of the residential buildings located in those particular communities. And that is really, I'm sure, going to be welcomed by those who reside in those two areas particularly. And, of course, there's the pension reform that the Minister of Finance briefly touched on. In time, there should be a 10% increase, particularly for public service pensioners, because they have not had an increase since 2014. And so there's going to be a one-time 10% increase for public service pensioners. I think that is very considerate, and that's going to be welcomed by many in the community who would benefit from the increase of their pension. And then the contributory pension and social insurance benefits will be addressed in due course. I think it will be going under a consultative process to determine on what really makes sense. But I think the payroll tax is going to be significantly reduced for various employees that pay and employers that pay into the payroll tax. That's been one of the most challenging things in times of extreme economic challenge. You know, honoring the commitment to the requirement of payroll tax. I don't know if earlier in the budget presentation this morning, the minister made reference, I'm sure he would have, to the tax benefit that we should be receiving. I don't know, this year, next year, or if we've already begun to receive. I'm not really sure about that. I didn't hear, but I'm sure that would have been the global tax situation discussed in the, or made reference to in the report. I'm expecting to get the actual full published document of the estimates of revenue and expenditure, which would have been presented to all members in the House of Assembly this morning in hard copy, I believe, unless they have transitioned to electronic copies, because everybody has a computer these days. But it's usually hard copy, and we refer to it as the budget book for 2026-27. They would have all had sight of it and been able to read along with the highlights coming out of that was presented by the finance minister this morning in the House of Assembly. So I don't know what your feelings are, if you've heard, because you were able to listen in for a longer period of time this morning, anything that you agree with or disagree with or have concerns about. Telephone lines are open until 3 o'clock, when we will be inviting to the microphone our regular Friday afternoon guest, Dr. Connie Frith. So you have about 20 minutes to give initial feedback, if you would so care to do, here at Magic 102.7 at 297-1027. 297-1027, and the telephone lines are indeed open for any comments that you might wish to make. But as I said, I had a cursory look at, or listening, I'm rather impressed. I think, I don't know what the president of the BIU will bring to the attention of the premier, but I certainly give him respect for the way he, in a dignified way, has decided not to make any public pronouncements one way or the other, whether he has constructive critique or whether he has compliments. He's not prepared to make any statements in response to the 2026-27 budget until he's had the opportunity to have a word or a conversation with the Premier and Finance Minister, the Honorable E. David Burt. I just think it's highly commendable, highly commendable. That's what you call mutually respecting process and in the public interest, acting in accordance with what would be demonstrating a very impressive level of leadership. The unions in this country have, at various times in the course of our evolving democracy, had contentions and disagreements and levels of impasse that have caused certain consequential fallout because of a lack of cohesiveness or a lack of agreement. And that has not been the experience in this country for several years now, when there has been levels of concern expressed. There has been a very mature approach to dealing with the issue or concern by way of diplomacy. And in most cases, it has been a process of quiet diplomacy, where there has been conversations and dialogue behind closed doors with stakeholders to try and come to an accord through a mutually agreed process before going public to get the support or to provide the information in the court of public opinion, where lots of times people hear what they want to hear, and it would be misinterpreted or distorted for whatever reason, depending on what the narrative is and who is articulating that narrative. And lots of times when that happens, it adds more confusion than resolution to the contentions that might be issues being addressed. And so quiet diplomacy at various political levels has always been a good thing to engage before there's a decision made to go public and, air out what the differences are and why there is an impasse or stalemate. And I think by way of labor relations, dealing with any concerns in the last several years, that has been something I believe deserves not just being recognized, but deserves credit from the sides, whichever side is engaged in the process, because there has to be a mutual understanding first and then a mutual agreement to engage in dialogue with a view to finding resolution before really getting up in arms and just going straight to the public and voicing, the concern in a very contentious way at times because of what has been either said or demonstrated around the negotiating table. One or the other party might take a dig, and then that sets off a whole different demeanor among the parties so concerned. And that's been something that has been avoided. And that has a lot to do with the maturity of our democracy. And those who are in the leadership positions acting on behalf of the country and also on behalf of citizens who are affiliated with the particular organization or situation. So there you go. 297-1027. Telephone lines are open, folks. If you so care to contribute in any way, you are more than welcome. In the meanwhile, we have a few words of information that we'd like to share with you at this time, and we'll be back on the other side here industries. That is as far as I've gotten with respect to understanding what's going on in the particular document. So